Hello dear friends, and welcome back to another channel. If you're new here, I'm Carly, and this is a series of videos that I'm doing basically stepping into each and every one of the Natal North Node placements and talking about how can that specific North Node placement get the most out of this current transit of the North Node through Taurus. It's a mouthful. Currently, for everyone, the North Node is moving through Taurus, the South Node is moving through Scorpio. I have a video on my channel if you're interested in digging in more to that transit. And then in this video, we are specifically talking about if your natal North Node falls in Scorpio, or if your natal North Node lands in the 8th house, regardless of what sign it is, this video would also be for you. So my goal here is to walk us through the content provided in a book called Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller. It's an amazing book. It's like 20 bucks on Audible. I cannot recommend it enough. And not even just for your North Node placement, really for any of the signs that you're wanting to develop within yourself. Listening to the North Node chapter for that sign can be incredibly enlightening. I've had many of the chapters speak to me in a very profound way. And specifically this video I've been really excited to do because basically these people, North Node in Scorpio especially, not so much if you're having, or if your North Node's in the 8th house only, but if your North Node's in Scorpio, you're having your cross nodal return. Maybe you already did in the last few weeks, or you're having it sometime in the next like 18 months. And that is a real turning point. So that's what we'll talk about at the end of the video after I take us through just an overarching look at what Scorpio 8th house North Node looks like. I have my handy dandy notes, and we'll go through these different categories. We'll begin with attributes to develop. So these are the things that Scorpio or 8th house North Node are trying to develop in this lifetime. Emotional investigation. This is probably the main one, is that you are learning how to lean into analyzing emotional data. And that is very different from the Taurus South Node that you come from. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the next category of tendencies to leave behind. But in this Scorpio North Node lifetime, you're here to build your awareness of other people's psychology. And that is to say their beliefs, their motivations, their needs, their emotional states and attitudes. Picking up on all of that through your intuition is where Scorpio is absorbing their data, and taking that information and not reacting to the information on a surface level. Emotional investigation requires that we sit with whatever it is long enough and ask enough questions and dig into it and understand not what's on the surface, but what's behind what we're being presented. Because as Scorpio energy can vouch for, the truth is always much deeper than what initially meets us on the surface. So Scorpio is here to really step into the psychology specifically of other people. I'm going to talk a little bit later about how I personally believe that we can get there and we can build up our ability to be open to the psychology and emotions of others by building that openness within ourselves, but more on that later. Other attributes to develop: learning to shift your focus from the task of what needs done to the person that you're working with and how you can empower that person to do the task themselves. You're also developing openness to partnering and merging power with others, which would basically mean that you would have to relinquish sole ownership. You are becoming a joint owner of assets, and that is a whole arm of development for a Taurus South Node. You're also learning how to accept support from others, be that money or opportunities, an inheritance of some kind, and learning how to appreciate the goodness and the power of other people. You're also learning in terms of learning how to investigate, that can sound as simple as, why do you do it this way? Why do you feel like this? What's driving this emotion? And pausing, slowing down long enough to ask questions like that and really lean into what's going on behind the face or behind the words or whatever emotional display the person is doing in front of you. So in this lifetime, change, personal change, is the key to thriving. And that is definitely stepping outside of the comfort zone for a Taurus South Node. But basically, you're learning how to choose constructive change. You're learning how to recognize inside of yourself emotionally when change is the right idea. When, you know, the shadow side of Taurus is that they can stay stuck because it's fixed earth energy. So once they find a physical pattern, they have a habit, it's very difficult to change, even if that habit is hurtful to them or to others, or they're just standing in their own way, self-sabotaging with this pattern. And the Taurus South Node in its comfort zone will keep doing the pattern because that's what's comfortable. So in this lifetime, you're learning how to recognize what Jan calls in the book heavy energy. It's like if you engage in a pattern and it lifts your spirits, it fills your energy tank, it gives you life, then keep doing the pattern. And learn how to recognize when you're engaging in a pattern that when you do it, it's dragging your energy down. Like my best example of this, and I don't have this placement, but I was a daily drinker for like 3 years at one point, and I realized like when I chose to stop, it wasn't I need to stop drinking. It was when I engage in this habit, I feel like it's taking me backwards. I feel like every day in my life and what I'm doing, I'm taking like 3 steps forward. And then when I have a few beers in the evening, I feel like it's taking me 3 steps backwards. And so like every day I feel like I'm just like not gaining momentum. And at that point, from that perspective of this habit isn't supporting me, it's not helping me, it's not serving me, it didn't feel like a difficult thing to quit drinking at that point, like how it had in the past when I was trying to give up alcohol because it was bad for me and all of that. So it really does matter, like, what's your motive and why do you want to do this? So that's why she talks about like recognizing heavy energy and when things are draining your energy, and recognize that that's a pattern that isn't serving you and that that's something that should be eligible for change. Also, attributes to develop, you're trying to minimize your physical possessions because you're shifting your focus to a more intangible plane. Scorpio is a water sign. It's working in emotions and energy. So that isn't physical. That has nothing to do with your physical possessions or how much money you have in the bank. And one way to do this is to practice gratitude for what you do have. So the bounty that has already been harvested, the manifestations that have already come to you, the things in your life that are already nice for you. And that can be as simple as the sunset was really pretty last night. You know, it was really cold yesterday and it's going to be warmer today and I'm going to get to spend some time outside. These don't have to be crazy, luxurious, like lifestyle of the rich and famous type manifestations for us to start building a bridge of gratitude towards the way our life is manifesting. And as we realize that there is so much abundance around us already, it helps us to let go of our need and dependence on those physical manifestations or physical possessions. A strategy that she talks about is that Scorpio North Node is developing self-discipline, and that the Taurus South Node, that kind of implies that they don't have self-discipline. And that really struck me to the point where it was so confusing. I just like took it out because I was like, I can't even talk about that because I don't understand it. She goes on in some detail throughout the course of the chapter, and I do see what she means, that definitely the shadow side of Taurus is self-indulgent, like in a physically luxurious way, in terms of like, you know, why not have 4 more cookies? Or, you know, why not take a 5-hour nap in the middle of the day? Like, why not pamper myself and give myself what I want in this moment. It's a very animal instinct kind of desire that when you have strong Taurus energy, you can definitely get kind of in that loop of just satiating your senses, and that's really all you're doing. And so she talks about developing self-discipline and using this question to kind of like guide it back inward and guide it back towards the North Node, your North Star. What is going to give me a sense of power? And typically, sometimes it can give us power to indulge ourselves, but sometimes it gives us more power not to. So that's not to say that we have to completely leave behind the ways of our South Node and we're only trying to do what our North Node is good at. Scorpio's really good at self-discipline, so that's why we're leaning in that direction. But really, like, what we're asking is, what would give me a sense of power? And at the end of the day, with the physical possessions route of what Taurus South Node was doing in past lifetimes, really what they wanted was a sense of power. They wanted security. They wanted to know that their physical safety was taken care of. And what this self-discipline, what this rerouting of your inner power in terms of like emotional power, spiritual power, scorpionic power that comes from inside of you, comes from like a self-mastery, self-control place. That is what I would call true power. And again, the more we're able to find that true power inside of ourselves, the easier it is to leave behind these tendencies to leave behind. So the first on that list is attachment, and really physical attachment of all kinds. Like, that's why really successful Scorpio North Nodes have at some point in their life completely downsized their entire life, like got rid of everything they owned, like donated it, didn't try to sell it, didn't try to cash out of like, you know, I paid $4,000 for that TV. I need to get at least $3,000. So now I need to find a buyer so that I can sell my TV. Like, no. Like, that is still the physical side. That's still saying like, I need a physical resource in exchange for this item. I'm like tied to the item and I'm only going to get away from it if I can get this other energy to replace it with. And what this is talking about, what Scorpio North Node is talking about, is replacing that energy with your internal energy, with your internal power, your true power. And let that energy reassure you beyond doubt of any kind that you don't need physical possessions in this life. You really truly don't. When Scorpio North Node is on their true path, what that means is that basically there will always be somebody there to provide for you. Like, all you have to do is this Scorpio part where you tune into everybody else's psychology, tune into the motivations, the emotional states of what's going on with the people around you. You can so easily, when you do that, so easily guide them and coach them in the practical side of the problems that they're facing. But the only way that they're going to take your practical advice is if you first connect with them emotionally, you validate their emotional experience, you connect with them in that place of whatever tension or suffering they're currently experiencing. And from that place, you guide them towards practical solutions. Because as a Taurus South Node, even though we're leaving behind these tendencies and we're trying not to get caught in these tendencies, still, we're never going to completely leave behind our South Node energy. It's more like an anchor point in who we are and who we will be as we walk along our North Node path. And I think that's almost like even doubly true for a Taurus South Node, because that's fixed earth energy. Like, I would just imagine you guys more than anybody else are embodying what it looks like that we're never getting away from our South Node. So you might as well embrace the best of it and carry that with you. Let that empower you towards embodying and reaching for whatever the North Node end is asking for. For example, this is a natal chart for a client that I am doing a private reading for. She gave me permission to share it with you all. This is a perfect example of why we are not ever trying to completely leave behind our South Node. It's just not possible, for one thing, and for second, especially if you have a chart that looks like this one, you would never want to do that. Leaving behind your South Node energy, in this case your Taurus energy, for this person would also mean turning their back on their Jupiter, which is to say their path to abundance and expansion, their sun sign, which is the core of the light that they came to shine in this world, their moon sign, which is how they'll meet their emotional needs to give them the fuel to shine the light that they came to shine, and their Mercury, which is how their mind is wired and how they think and how they see the world and the things that they choose to pay attention to and all of that. So this is a great example of where, again, we're not trying to leave behind the South Node. We're definitely trying to reach for the highest frequency of what that South Node energy is capable of and embody that. And as we're met with the shadow frequencies of what that energy is capable of, we heal those, which is to say we recognize that this behavior is destructive to myself and to the others that I'm dealing with, the shadow sides of Taurus. And I use that as my moment to remember, yes, I want to remember to lean back into my Scorpio energy, back into my North Node, my North Star. I want to shift my focus back onto the people around me and their psychological states and motivations. Other tendencies to leave behind: possessiveness. In a past life, she goes in detail about how you guys were landowners, builders, providers of many kinds, like not even just to your family, but maybe even the whole community or a state government, or like big level responsibility to provide physical security for large numbers of people. And because you were shouldered with that level of responsibility, the weight of that, you learned how to shut off not only your own emotional energy, but also other people's emotional energy. And you did that so that you could stay focused on one step in front of the other, the Taurus creation energy that like can do literally anything that it points itself in the direction of, because it just never stops walking until it gets where it's going. And if that energy had to stop and counsel every distraught person that it ever met, it wouldn't be doing a good job of being a provider. So there's a reason why it feels so important on one level to like really hang on to that Taurus earth energy and like having a plan and knowing the steps and having a goal and moving in the direction of the goal and like all of that, that like you need to own your own assets, that you need to have your own bank accounts, that you need to like make your own money, that you need to do all these things because that's who you are. But if this is what's in your natal chart, that's not who you are, that's who you were. And who you are in this lifetime is the Scorpio North Node person who's here to, like we talked about in the first section, merge with another person. Merge your power with their power. Use what you know and your resources and your skills to support them in their mission, and watch them go and achieve something that they, one, couldn't have done on their own, two, is better than anything you could have achieved on your own, and now three, you both have rewards and benefits and blessings and abundance bigger than what either one of you would have gotten on your own. So there's this mindset with like that Taurus South Node end that says, I need to take care of myself, that like I need to be independent and provide for myself. And in this lifetime, that is not who you're here to be. You're here to lift up someone else who will then turn around and provide for you because they see you as the most valuable person that they've ever met. And people don't let people like that go. People like that, they, how Abraham put it, they drag them home and keep them because that's helpful. That's so valuable. That person who's going to be your rock in the storm, who's going to be your clarity in dark times, who's going to be there to lift you up and emotionally counsel you, not on the surface level of what you're facing in this moment, but on the deeper implications of like, you know, why do you keep butting heads with your boss? It may be because you're not really cut out to be an employee. You're really more meant to be a visionary and a leader and an entrepreneur. Maybe that's a route that we need to take. And most people, like, let's say in that example, that's a good example to say, like, most people, they stay in a job versus go on their own, because what it takes to go on your own is that self-confidence, is knowing that you can do it. And so it's more likely that someone like you is going to know that about your partner than they're going to know it about themselves. So because of you and your contribution, like your energetic support that you're providing to them by totally focusing your power into their energy field and lifting them up as much as you possibly can, that you will see a path for them that they can't see themselves. And because of that, that's how they end up walking a path that's more valuable than the one that they could have walked without you. And that's why they know full well that, like, it wasn't like this before you got here. You know, like, you only know you can't really feel how much of an impact you're able to make on other people. But when you focus into their energy and you give them your undivided attention and you emotionally investigate deeper into where they're coming from and their inner workings and what makes them tick and how did they come to their truth, and you really just step inside their shoes. You emotionally melt into the other person. That's what Scorpio is able to do. And from that place, Scorpio is extremely gifted with knowing the emotional truth of things. So imagine what a gift that is to your partner, where they feel chaotic, they feel overwhelmed by whatever circumstances they're facing on their path. And here you are able to absorb their energy, able to merge your energy with theirs and feel the emotional truth, the deepest root, the common denominator of, like, the real thing that's going on here under the surface, not all these surface chaotic things, but like the real thing that, like, you know what to say to them, you know what question to ask, you know what encouragement to offer, you know what space to give them when, oh yeah, they're in that level. Okay, I'll give them a few hours and then I'll come back and I'll see how they are. Yeah, because, like, them being open, that's a huge part of them being able to connect with you emotionally so that they can hear your practical solutions. So if this sounds totally foreign from like who you are and who you think you should be in your life, welcome to the North Node journey is all I can say. And if you feel like this is already kind of the work that you've been practicing, that's probably a little bit more common as far as, like, the people that I've met along this journey. They are mostly, like, already tinkering with their North Node. It may be really uncomfortable because it's new, but it's so worth developing. And there's a part of us that just naturally walks this way because we can feel that this is the part of us that needs to be developed. We don't even really ever have to learn, like, what even is the North Node. There's a part of our soul that just knows to lean there. Okay, so this last part of the video will cover how this Scorpio or 8th house North Node can get the most out of this current transit of the North Node through Taurus. So this is partly why I wanted to make this series in the first place, because when I made my original video, there were people with Scorpio North Node who showed up in the comments, rightfully so, and said, okay, so since I'm a Scorpio North Node, do I just do the opposite of everything you just said? And the answer is surprisingly no. The answer is surprisingly no, you should be working on your Taurus. I know your North Node is Scorpio, but right now in this chapter, we're working on Taurus as a collective. And so this part of the video, I'm going to try to tie it together as far as, like, how working on your Taurus can actually help your Scorpio. So we'll see. We'll see if it resonates for you guys. Let me know in the comments how it lands, and if you have any other ideas as far as how this cross-nodal return might manifest. The first thing that I can tell you, and this is about a cross-nodal return no matter what sign it's in, is it's a turning point in your life. It's a moment where you have a coming face-to-face with who you used to be, and in coming face-to-face with who you used to be, you're able to see that's not me anymore. And because you can see that's not me anymore, you have more clarity around who you are now. And who you are now is closer to living your soul mission than you were before, whenever that was. So this turning point of the North Node crossing over your South Node, the South Node crossing over your North Node, it's a letting go of your past self, your past karma. It's a healing point. It's a clearing space point. And that's like really interesting because that's kind of what this transit as a whole, like South Node moving through Scorpio, is such a purge, like an emotional purge on a deep level. And for you guys, it's going to play out in such a counterintuitive way, but I think I can piece it together where we can all see. So the first thing that I'll say specific to you guys about all this is, so when we focus on the North Node in Taurus, when we build up our Taurus energy, and I'm not going to go a ton into that because that's what the original video was for, but essentially we are finding inner peace inside of ourselves. We are finding where we may have left our power scattered out in the world, and we are reclaiming it for ourselves. We are finding ways to comfort and soothe ourselves in the right now moment. We're practicing our presence and our ability to simply be and be aware of what's going on in our right now moment. So you can watch that original video for more on the Taurus side and like how to practice that. But for you guys, when you do that, you're tuning into the highest frequency of what your Taurus South Node is capable of. And when we have a South Node in any sign, it's like, it's very twofold. It's very much like a set of gifts that you have, superpowers, because you have all this experience in this life area. It's also karma and experiences that left damage on your soul that need to be healed and paid back. The South Node is essentially how Jan Spiller puts it. It's the most overdeveloped part of your energy. And because the South Node is the most overdeveloped, its sister sign, the North Node, is the least developed. It's the most underdeveloped side of your personality. That's why we're trying to build up the North Node side. So with Taurus South Node, especially when we listen to the tendencies to leave behind and like the whole chapter that she goes through in that book, it's like very much focusing on the shadow side of Taurus, which is the materialistic side of Earth energy, which is kind of the shadow side of all Earth energy. Capricorn and Virgo can get stuck in materialism as well. And that we're learning the true value of things. And the true value of things, the true power that we have, like we said, is emotional, it's spiritual. Our true vitality comes from merging and partnering with another, someone who we feel lights us up, not just on a soul level, but on a heart level, a body level, a mental level. Like, to be with someone like that. She actually used those words in the book that Scorpio North Node, that you guys are living, or 8th house North Node, that you're living a soulmate lifetime. That is very much where a lot of your development is going to happen. It will be inside that soulmate relationship. So partnering with someone who lights you up on all levels, that's really what you're aiming towards. And as we work on our Taurus energy, and for you guys with the South Node, it is so important inside of a relationship, especially one like what we're suggesting for you guys, where you're blending your entire power into the other person. It is so important that you have a clear understanding of where your power comes from. Because just because you're investing it in the other person doesn't mean that that's where it comes from. It does not come from them. It comes from inside of you. And you cultivate it inside of you, you tap into where it's coming from, and then you have it, and then you can invest it in the other person. So Taurus North Node is really about tapping in inside of ourselves. And I do mean Taurus North Node, like the transit that we're all going through right now. So like the North Node in transit right now is helping all of us to turn inward and connect with our state of being, our simplest version of consciousness, like, which is to say the soul level of our physical vessel, to let ourselves simplify to that place of understanding our own dominant well-being. That, like, our heart pumps our blood all day, all night. Our lungs breathe for us. Our brain keeps all that going. Like, all of the different ways that we are just taken care of and supported, both in our vessel and in this universe as a whole. The well-being is so dominant. The well-being is the heartbeat of this universe itself. And Taurus North Node, this transit for everyone, is about tuning in to that level of well-being. And again, that is the gift that you Scorpio North Nodes are ultimately giving to your partner when you invest your power into theirs, is that root, that Taurus root is so grounded in that dominant well-being. You know that all is well. I mean, maybe not all the time, but especially when you're well rested, especially when you take good care of yourself, you get out in nature on a regular basis. When you're in that place, you know all is well. This is fine. We're totally secure. We will figure this out. We are resourceful, intelligent creatures, and we will figure this out. We can ride out this storm because we just know how. We're willing to keep walking. We're willing to put one foot in front of the other. So especially when your partner is in a chaotic moment of their own, that Taurus root and that ability to have a clear sense of your own internal well-being and your own internal source of power and clarity and inner peace, when you're in that place, you go into their energy field, you soak up their energy, and you offer them crystal clear emotional truth. And that is such a gift to them in terms of supporting them energetically, emotionally, to do what they need to do in this world. Like, think how often honestly, we just need a pep talk. We just need somebody to remind us that we can do it, that we're smart and we've done it before. Inside of yourself, it's like so easy to forget that. And so your guys' job as Scorpio or 8th house North Node is to invest in your partner, and don't let them forget how amazing they are. Don't let them forget how eternally well this time and place really is. And working with our Taurus energy, for you guys especially, is harnessing that end of your spectrum, those skills, those gifts, those superpowers that you just naturally possess because you have so much experience there. Harness those and tune into the highest frequencies. Shed the shadow version of your Taurus energy, which is to say materialism or possessiveness. And the North Node moving through there really helps with that too. Helps us to see what's truly valuable in a way that, like, not all that glitters is gold. I say that a lot in the first video. Not all that glitters is gold. And this is a lifetime where you're letting go of those physical possessions and moving into something that's valuable because it's a once in a lifetime energetic connection with someone who just, like I said, lights you up on every level. So on the other end of that, the South Node in Scorpio end, I do believe that the purge that's happening with the South Node moving through Scorpio for all of us, that is bringing up all of our deepest fears. And that, again, is for all of us. And for you guys, in your evolution so far, you were very much focused on the Taurus ownership, land, being the provider, the money side of it. And that naturally means that to date, until this lifetime, you weren't leaning into, or maybe not as much, into merging energetically with other people. And typically, us as souls, we go through the path of least resistance with our development. So how I understand that is basically you were more comfortable in that area, so you developed there first, and there's a reason that, you know, our South Node is the most overdeveloped part, because we just keep getting better and better and better, because we're like, look, I'll just get better at this area, and eventually it's like, yeah, you're fine there, you need to go over here and like work on this end. It's just a little baby thing over here, like maybe balance it out a little bit, because the imbalance starts to cause its own issues. So this lifetime, you're balancing by venturing into merging your energy with another. And that level of intimacy is scary. So this transit of the South Node through Scorpio, I would imagine for you guys, is bringing to the surface some fears around especially codependent relationships, where you feel like you get into a relationship and then you're trapped by the other person, by circumstance, whatever, and you don't want to be trapped. You don't. That's just like the worst thing in the whole world that could ever happen to you. And I get that. And when you engage in it like this, when you do the Taurus North Node transit and you use this time to turn inward and find your own internal source of power and fill yourself up with your own power and your sense of well-being, the people that you attract from that place, even the side of people that you attract from that place. Like if you're already married, like you could attract a completely different side of your spouse simply by becoming empowered yourself. So codependent is something that it takes two to play that game. And so I guess what I'm saying is, like, especially Taurus South Node, I would imagine you guys are just naturally not going to find yourself in a codependent relationship, but I could see how that fear would keep you out, keep you like keeping yourself at a safe distance from relationships so that it doesn't go into that codependent range. But investing in this Taurus North Node development can really help you find your center of gravity within yourself, such that when you do begin merging with another, it's not as merged as it sounds, I guess is how I want to say that. Like it's still you being aware of your energy and aware of their energy, but it's like you allow their energy to come into your vessel, and you vice versa give them your energy openly to put into their vessel. And that exchange, that energetic exchange, can be life-giving to both people, and with a Scorpio / 8th house North Node, it will be. That's where your soul's path is. That's where all your vitality, all your happiness is on that path of exchanging your energy with another person. And when you've attracted them, or whatever side of them, because you're empowered, law of attraction basically says that they're empowered too. Like from your point of attraction, you attract like attracts like. So when you're empowered, they're empowered. And that means that your empowered energy is being traded and swapped with more empowered energy, more appreciative energy, more energy that knows how dominant well-being is. Like codependent is the shadow side for sure, but synergy is the other side. Synergy is what you're reaching for. Synergy, as far as like the basic definition, is 1 + 1 = 3. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. Synergy is the idea that when you add these two components together, you get more return than either one of them would have gotten by themselves. So synergy is what's possible. And the fear that the Scorpio South Node is helping to bring up for you guys around relationships and merging your energy with another, I would imagine there's a little bit too of like just not wanting to get hurt, of not feeling comfortable in the emotions, that like the emotions are just too intense and I don't want to be sucked into that, and I don't want to. So again, there's practicing the Taurus end, which I totally get, sounds counterintuitive, gets you that inner stability, that inner earth energy that knows how to center yourself in any now moment. And the main benefit of that, as far as in my experience, I don't know how you guys are using it, but the main benefit is for intense emotion management. So the more grounded you are in the earth realm, I think the easier it is to walk into potentially painful feeling emotions, because the trick with painful, intense emotions is knowing how to pull back out of it whenever you need to, right? Like that's something that's just a gentleness that we have with ourselves. Like we're willing to explore dark places because I'm taking a flashlight because I have an emergency escape hatch and I am going to pull it if ever I need to, if ever it's too much for me to bear. So this is how that Taurus North Node can really serve you guys, is to, again, that inner stability, that presence, that grounding in the current moment, that ability to, at any moment, drop into your breath and literally let your body melt into the total well-being of the sun is shining in the sky, the planet is spinning, my lungs are breathing, my heart is pumping, my stomach is full, life is good. And when you open your eyes after a moment like that, life looks different. And practicing your Taurus, especially as a Scorpio North Node, is only going to strengthen your ability to lean in, especially to those more intense emotions that Scorpio is so known for. That brings us to the end of another video in this series. If you found value here, I do ask that you give the video a like, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel so that you'll be notified when I make more yummy content like this. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down below. I've released one commentary video so far on this transit where I answered 10 questions about this transit. Just you guys left them in the comments. There were so many awesome questions, so I made a video just addressing a big batch of them. I'm about to do another one and am totally open to doing as many of those as needed through the life of this transit when it ends in July of 2023. So any questions, leave them down below. Until next time, take such good care of yourselves, and so will I.